In this podcast, we're going to talk about Hinduism, Buddhism in relation, and Jainism in terms of virtues. There is another podcast online with the cage to do with what we mean by virtues, what we mean by ethics, and how virtues can be seen as instruments to help us change our personalities and change who we are, to take us out of a dark position into a light position. By dark position, I mean something like depression, anxiety, addictions, problems, lack of self-belief, even illness to a degree. But I'm not a doctor, and I won't pretend to be a doctor. And there are conditions of things that are permanent. You know, our corporal, our material, physical, corporal body, we will pass away. We will all pass away at some point. Whether we are able to cure ourselves, to have a longer life, or whether we are in a situation where we have to go to the life beyond, to the spiritual realm, then that is something else. But I won't pretend that I can cure, or we are here to talk about curing illnesses that are not curable. It's more about psychology, more about, you know, the way we feel about and interact with the world around us. So in the other podcast, we talked about how instruments, we can use ways and means to change the way we are. And by identifying the virtues, we have tools with which we can then apply. There is a further podcast which looks at practical ways to win situations within our lives where we can apply these virtues and use them as tools to change the way we are in any given situation. Let's lift up ourselves. This is about hope. This is about spreading and informing you all on that we're never helpless. We always can make choices, and we always have to choose choices. It's about giving you the tools, the weapons, the instruments, or identifying them, because they're all listed out. But sometimes it's quite complicated to work out what they all are. It took me a while to work them all out. So, to recap, by virtues, what we mean are qualities, courage, honesty in our dealings, justice, being just within our, and not lying, being truthful as much as we can, being generous, loving, giving hope to other people, being patient, not overindulging in a thing, realizing that certain things in life can damage us. Too much alcohol will damage us. Too much of an obsession of a sport can damage relations. Too much obsessed with something you're doing can damage relationships. So there is the idea of prudence, being modest and realizing that there are limits. Just try to go and take things in a balanced way that you are. So every one of these instruments can be used. They run through all religions. They run through all faiths, should I say. I do not use the word religion, faith. Why don't I use the word religion? Because religion it comes from the Latin verb religere, which means a discipline, to follow. It's a patronizing word that implies that you follow this, you do this. Faith is about an individual experience of the world around us, the universe, and through your own self and your own communion directly with the universe and God around you, rather than feeling that you have to be told to do that, and He will give you a blessing. You can receive your blessing through God, the universe, connecting to nature, even whether it's a sacred well, a sacred river, a sacred mountain, whether it's God Elohim, or if you want to call Him Jehovah or Allah, or even if you want to call the higher Buddha realm. So what it means is we ourselves can work forward and make changes to who we are, following these virtues. And like they're common in Christianity, you know, Islam doesn't really identify that many of them, unfortunately, but they're common in Buddhism and Hinduism. And then Taoism has a very simple formula of, you know, of Wu Wei, actionless action, and ways to live in harmony with the universe, which we're going to look at. So, courage, patience, generosity, kindness, goodwill, friendliness, perseverance, you know, honesty, not harming other people, killing. These are common in Christianity, and they're common in Hinduism and Buddhism, as we'll look at right now. These are basic rules. Think of them as rules of the universe. If you're going to steal from somebody, you may get away with it. You may enjoy stealing. If you're an angry person, you may enjoy your anger. Sometimes we need to react, to stand up and defend ourselves against wrong. But there's a very difference between being an angry person, quick to annoy, quick to, you know, shout and intimidate other people. Or alternatively, you know, you're always looking to get the better of them, and you're always trying to manipulate other people. Now you may say this is good, but these are called vices. Ultimately, they will lead to your own demise, and you'll reach a point where suddenly they'll come and stab you in the back. So we're talking about getting from dark and bad things into good things, because good things is the way the universe and the world operates, the way societies operate. They don't operate stealing, robbing, killing, hating, selfishness. They operate on qualities of you know, friendliness, kindness, tolerance, respect, mutual respect. So Hinduism and Buddhism are what are called Indic faiths, or Dharmic faiths, because they're from the Indian region, left of the Indus River. That's why India is called India, because it's the other side of this large partitioning river, which was once a frontier. So let's look at these virtues that we can find in Hinduism to help us use them in order to develop enlightenment, awakenness, or to be in union with the universe, because they don't so much talk about God, Jehovah, or Elohim, but in Hinduism it's more about, you know, relationships with the universe, and also with, you know, you have Vishnu and Shiva, and then you have the female, you know, aspect of that, Durga, which is independent. So in Hinduism you have something called the Ashtanga yoga. Ashtanga means 8, and Ashtanga means 8 limbs of yoga. And so the 8 limbs are yama, niyama, asana, pranidhana, dhyana, dharana, and samadhi. Okay, let's look at these individually. Quite easy to understand, but of course you can do your own search. Just go online and go in Ashtanga yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga. So start off with yama. Yama means abstinence from, you know, abstaining from. Okay, so the virtues of this system of yoga, which is designed to lead you to being free and enlightenment, or connected to the universe, it is a yogic belief, is don't harm other people. It's called ahimsa. Don't harm other people. Absteya. Don't steal from other people. Satya. Be truthful. Satya in Sanskrit. You have brahmacharya, which means the way you conduct yourself towards this. Oh, look out. Brahmacharya could generally refer to everything. We can include in brahmacharya. Brahma meaning the universal being. They call Brahma, the Brahman, being, Brahmin and Brahma. It's about connecting to the universal force. Some believe there's a God, as we call Brahma. So we have Brahmacharya, the way we conduct ourselves to try to connect to the universe. Then you have secondary yamas, which are included in there. One is Dhriti, which means perseverance. Another we will have is Arjava. Arjava means sincerity, sincere in who you are and with the people around you. Okay, this is the first limb, the first part of the 8 parts. Second, we'll go on to niyama, and these are not abstinences, things you shouldn't do. These are things that you should observe, that you should try to do. Okay, you should try to keep yourself clean, and clean in your environment where you live and who you are, the clothes, the way you perceive things. Try to be clean. Sausha, it's called. After Sausha we have Santosha, which means to be content and happy and appreciate what we have in our world around us. They just have tapas. Now this is a very important point, tapas. Tapas is something that is very much about Hinduism and Buddhism and Jainism. It's about letting go of the material world around us, but the less we let go of the material world, the more we can develop our spiritual self. The physical world around us, often is called Prakriti, the physical world, and our spiritual side is called Purusha. So we try to let go of Prakriti in order to liberate our Purusha. Material and spiritual, this dual, always this dual, and between the duality there is oneness, which is what yoga means. It means a union of the material and the spiritual material until it becomes unified, unionized, and the word union is directly, the word root is etymologically directly from the word yoga, as in conjunction and gnosis and cognizance, and in French you'll have connaître, in Spanish you'll have connaître, pardon, and you have connaître. All come from this Proto-Indic language we have, and knowing is about, it comes from the same root. So we have niyama, and in niyama we also, you can have pratyahara or aparigraha. And aparigraha, it means to letting go of the material things around you. Like a bird, you're encumbered. Let go of the baggage. Don't go around putting more and more baggage on yourself, going heavier and heavier and heavier. Let go of things, let go of material possessions, let go of your spirit, let go of inhibitions, let go, free yourself. So, aparigraha, is negation, like ti or anarchy, is a negation. So aparigraha is letting go of the phenomenal objects and material world grafas around you. And then you also have in niyama, if you're still with me, the second limb of this Ashtanga yoga, then you also have Ishvara Pranidhana. And Ishvara Pranidhana is loosely means relating to the world around you. Wherever you are, in a city or in a country or Hopefully you have the town and the country, some of the universe to connect to nature. It means giving to the universe back. Planting trees, maybe eating less meat, whatever you're not. Taking from the universe, but being in harmony and giving to the universe as much as you can. Ishvara Pranidhana. Now, the third limb of Ashtanga Yoga, Asta meaning 8, the third we'll talk about your asanas. I'm not going to go into it, but if you want to, to stretch and limb, lie on the floor, stand on one leg, or develop certain positions and postures, lotus positions, for example, and things. Develop your yoga positions, look at them online, and these are ways to help your body. They're called asanas. And you can sit in meditation. Or you can do a stretch, or the frog pose, the deer pose, the cow pose, whatever you want. All asanas, they're bodily positions. After that, you have pranidhana, is breathing exercises to breathe in and breathe out. Inhale and exhale. Inhaling, 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 exhale. Inhale, exhale. Without breath, there is no life. It's all about breathing and calming yourself down and having excitement and calm and working with your breath. Pranidhana. The way you breathe can affect so much of the way you feel about things around you. You're always short of breath, short of breath, short of breath. Calm down, relax, relate the breath in. Prana means breath. So, breathing. If I put my hand over my mouth for 20 seconds, I'd be dead, pretty much. So breathing without breath. Breath allows us to focus and live in the present moment. After those, we then have dharana, this is the more thinking side, the more mental side of this system of Hindu thought. We have dharana, which means concentration on things. Dhyana, which means contemplation of things. And samadhi means union of the idea, and the whole idea of Ashtanga Yoga is you become union, the same, comes from the same word, the same, union with the universe and Brahma or God, whoever you want to be, union. This Ashtanga Yoga of Hinduism is a yoga. Yoga means a union of two. Divine, mortal, dark, light, material world and spiritual world. Union, it means a union. I need my body to be here to talk to you and to breathe. So there is a part of my physical side which is a part of myself, but it's not my higher self. This is Ashtanga Yoga. In Buddhism, it's very, very similar. There were very similar things. Of the Jains, for example, a small group, spiritual group that have never had a war, never gone to war, believe in non-violence. Something that Mahatma Gandhi took out there, non-violence. Believe in non-violence. There is something in Buddhism, you can find it in the Lotus Sutra. It's called the Lotus Sutra, the Avamataga Sutra, I think it's called. There's a Lotus Sutra which identifies the simple virtues, which I've mentioned already just now, and also you'll find in my podcast about Christianity. So you'll find them in the Lotus Sutra, but also they have a thing called the Prajna Paramitas. They're simply a list of qualities which allow us to become free from this enslavement and being fettered to the world around us. And they are patience, which I've listed in Aristotle's qualities. They have compassion, which is a Christian quality, which is also found in Aristotle's teachings. They have virya, which means courage and vigor. Courage was one of the 4 original cardinal virtues of Plato, which you find in my other podcast about the origins and how we can use virtues to affect our character. And the other prajna paramitas are loving kindness, as I mentioned, and also non-possessiveness of the material things around you, and truthfulness. Is they call prajna paramitas. Basically, in a nutshell, they are things which allow us to cross over to another level of understanding. The paramita, to cross to another shore, they call it. Imagine you're on a boat and you're on one shore, you travel a journey across and you arrive at the other shore. Prajna paramitas. So in Buddhism and Hinduism and Jainism, there are virtues, qualities. And these qualities can be used as tools and instruments to allow us to try to change our personality. Common through Christianity, through Islam doesn't mention too much about this, but they're embedded in their laws and their beliefs. But in Buddhism and Hinduism and Taoism, again less identified as a system, we have all these virtues. So write a list of all the virtues that you can. Remember in the other podcast, imagine each vice, the opposite of a virtue is a vice. So imagine you've got violence. So violence will be a bar on the cage. Greed, a bar on the cage. Impatience, a bar on the cage. Lack of courage, bar on the cage. Lack of self-belief, a bar on the cage. A lack of having any spirituality, a bar on the cage. A lack of humor, a bar on the cage. All these bars enclose you in, and you live in a smaller, ever decreasing spiral until you're just depressed, you're lonely, you're miserable, and life it's not as colourful, as happy as it used to be. You surround yourself, enslave yourself in these vices. Alcoholism, addictions, another bar on the cage, another bar. So the virtues, we pull down the bars and liberate ourselves to go to an enlightened place, a place of salvation, a place of illumination, a place of being at union with the universe around us. Very briefly, I'm just going to close by actually putting this darkness in the cage. So you become trapped in a situation, you become trapped within your own negative forces. You trap yourself. So to free yourself by using these virtues, these good things, these tools and instruments, by using the tools, as I've said multiple times, you can pull down the bars, and one day you'll start one by one, you pull down the bars, and one day you'll to free yourself from an unhappy place into a much happier place. So you don't want to surround yourself and defend yourself with the virtues and let go of the vices, the negative forces. So this is the second or one of three, should I say, podcasts to do with virtues and vices. It's all very practical. The third one, or another one of the two is about ways to connect with God, with Brahma, with the universe. Focus is very much about the transcendent contemplation of yoga, of the application of virtue. So I've touched on the basic idea of virtue with Hinduism here and Buddhism. The other one of this group of three talks about the origins of virtues from Western thought in the ancient Greek philosophy, theosophy, and the Christian idea of virtues as well coming up. And the third one will be about what we do when we have virtue. when we have virtue, how we're able to start to feel the process of change and where that change is going, and how we manifest that change going from an unhappier, problematic place to a healthier, with more well-being and more fulfillment and more happiness and meaning within our life, a good life. But the consequences of having a good life are manifold, and there are lots of great consequences of having a good life. And that will be explored in this one about then the contemplation of the divine. I look forward to seeing you on that podcast. Thank you for your time, and don't click a like if you don't like this video.